And with that, I have just been informed that we are now ready to get into the Death's Door run. So I'm going to hand you over now to Exorax, who can explain a bit more about what's going to be going on there.
Alright, hello everyone. I'm Exorax, and so I'm going to be running Death's Door 90% glitch. I'm joined on the mic by Thistle.
Hello, that's me. I run Death's Door, no major glitches, but I know some things about the current game. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited for the run. Alright, should we count down for the run? You ready?
Yep.
Alright. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. So I'll start by talking a little bit about the game itself. So generally how this game progresses is it's often compared to like old Zelda games. So the main progression is getting 3 main abilities, which are Fire, Bombs, and Hookshot. Now, we don't actually need all of these to beat the game with glitches, but that's the intended progression of the game, and we will be getting 2 of the 3 of those throughout the run. And it's your fairly standard, go through an area, beat a boss, get an ability, gameplay cycle.
Yep,
Get in the door.
And so, corresponding to each of the 3 abilities, there are 3 main bosses that we have to defeat to collect their quote-unquote giant souls in order to get to the end of the game.
Yeah, and something you just saw there is sometimes spells just ignore walls. I don't know why, they just do.
Yep. And it's great. It saves us from having to go around this area, and we go straight to fighting Demonic Forest Spirit, who, for anyone who's played Titan Souls, this fight might look familiar to you.
Yeah, I lost a bit of damage there on the rotation, but that's fine.
Good fight.
Yeah, so that's our first boss of the run. It's a lot less intimidating than some of the later ones we have to fight. As you will see fairly shortly.
Speaking of later bosses, sorry.
Oh.
I was going to say, speaking of later bosses, would you be able to explain a bit about what this Fight Grey Crow with Umbrella incentive that we've got going on later?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Grey Crow is, I guess I'd probably say it's the second last boss of the run. More on why I'm hesitating to go with that later. But it's arguably the hardest fight in the glitched run. And the Umbrella is a weapon which we can pick up before the fight. And what's special about the Umbrella is it does half the damage of the sword. It's exactly like any other way, same hit speed, same combo, all that stuff. It just does half the damage.
It is a
so it's
weapon,
obviously
basically
a lot harder.
Yeah, it's designed to make the game harder by doing less damage, but it's very stylish.
Yes, it is. I actually did my entire casual playthrough with the Umbrella, all the way up to 100%, just because it's so stylish.
That's impressive. I completely missed the Umbrella in my first playthrough. I had to see
that's sad.
Yeah, I had to see the achievement and go, oh, there's an Umbrella somewhere, and look for it. So yeah, the pink orbs that we've been picking up, those are soul. So X is gonna pick one up right now. Those are currency in the game, and we'll be using them to get upgrades later on. Oh, and this is a fun skip.
Yeah, we can use the bat to just walk over the gates. Skips quite a lot of running around this area.
Pushes you right into the next boss fight. So this one is significantly harder than the Demonic Forest Spirit. This is the Guardian of the Door.
As that title card helpfully explains.
Yes. But luckily for all of these fights and the arenas that we'll be doing, they're all scripted. This boss has a set series of movements that we know will happen, and so you see us rolling to the back of the arena because when the Guardian floats to the back of the arena, there's actually wind that pushes us away from it. So by catching ourselves between the wall and the boss itself, we can continue to do damage. And nice. That was a good fight.
A little bit closer, but that's all good.
Yeah, it's a hard fight. The Guardian has definitely killed many a run before.
Yeah. I was trying to be a little bit safe there. Yeah, one of the annoying things about Guardian is once you get past that laser beam attack, there's projectiles that come down from the sky, and those are random. So you can't just do one specific set of movements and dodge them every time. You have to react to them, and sometimes they'll always mess up your damage combos and all that.
Yeah.
So you notice that there was a key right there which I didn't get. And that's because by walking over that gate earlier, I was able to skip going around a lot of the area and therefore skip one of the locked doors that I would normally have to open. So I could use the key from earlier to open that door instead, and that skips a pretty long cutscene.
And here's another skip. I don't think this is dev intended, but it is neat that the game is programmed in a way where you can dip an arrow in the fire and then aim elsewhere in order to
it is really
on
useful.
Fire. Yeah.
Okay, so this is our first big sequence break coming up here. I'm going to not be able to explain all of this right now, but that is a roll arc, or roll arrow cancel. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm storing a roll in my heavy attack and using that to get a second roll in midair. We'll see a lot more of arcs later,
Nice.
but for now that's all you need to know.
Yeah, so arcs are useful for getting over gaps that in no major glitch or restricted categories we're not allowed to do. And by doing so, we can get this hookshot upgrade ability early. You'll notice in the HUD that the selected ability in the top left is blank. This is actually where the hookshot ability lives. And by grabbing the upgrade, we can essentially say, we can, I guess, cheat the game and say, like, hey, we have a hookshot, and it's the upgraded hookshot.
Yeah.
We don't swap abilities to anything else, we can maintain that hookshot.
Yeah. I believe that just works because when you pick up the upgraded hookshot, the game will just auto-equips hookshot for you. And at no point does it actually check you have hookshots before doing that, which is very convenient for us. One thing to note
is the best ability in the game.
It is the best, yeah. One thing to note is I do need to be very careful not to accidentally swap my bow before I get the real upgrade of hookshots, because that would completely break my run. I do have safety saves in case I do that, but it shouldn't be an issue because all it requires is me to not be silly.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so now with the hookshot ability, we are headed to the first of the 3 areas in the game that we mentioned earlier. So we start kind of this first gameplay loop. We're headed into the manor of the Urn Witch, starting with, I guess, this like external area called the estate. The way each of these dungeons usually works is we're taught like a puzzle mechanic, and then we go into the main dungeon, and then we fight. We collect 4 crows in each dungeon, then we go through an avarice, which is essentially another arena to get an ability. And because this is a glitch run, we're probably going to skip a lot of that.
Yeah, we're going to be collecting 0 crow souls.
Yeah.
Which is a lot less than the 12 you're supposed to get. Using a couple of early avarice tricks, one of which uses this fake hookshot that we have, and the other, which is quite a lot harder. We'll get to that one later.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of donations coming through if now would be on the right time for those. Great. So I got $5 from Frozen Flygon that says, $5 train for the umbrella incentive. Let's see it. Also, I'm team Spare the Rainmaker. She did nothing wrong. I promise. And we have $10 come in from Super221 that says, Grey Crow Fight. Content? Sign me up. Yippee. Thank you for that as well. And then we have $16 coming in from Dragonite13 that says, Umbrella. This is $1 for every perk we picked up in the Sundered run. +2 for the Death Slaw. Thank you. And then We have another $5 come in from Chuckles W73 that says, "Let's see that bomber shoot." So thank you all for those. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you all.
Yes. So what you saw me doing there with that pot is called Pothead Skip. You might have just seen on the corner of the screen an NPC who has a pot on his head. That is Pothead. We will talk to him in a minute, but for now, we're just trying to not talk to him. And we can do that by walk on the hedges.
Yeah, normally Pothead will catch you in a cutscene when you walk up to them. And so by rolling onto the hedges and walking around the cutscene trigger, we can save a lot of time. Ooh, I love this trick. It's called an archer lift. You get the archer to lower its bow, stand on top of it, and when it raises the bow to hit you, it lifts you up.
Yeah, I love that they gave the bow a hitbox. Like, they really didn't need to do that, but...
Yeah, it's so great.
Yeah. And we're about to do another one of these with this archer. So, I think this is a good time to talk about the main movement of this game, because up to this point we've been doing basically all movement that you would see in an NMG run. But once we get those daggers that you can see on the right of my screen right now, we will not be doing any of that.
Yes. Glitch runners get much more fun and faster movement. I will not spoil what they are until you get the daggers, though.
And here's Pothead again.
Hello,
We can't
Pothead.
skip this cutscene, unfortunately. So now I'm going to equip my daggers. So, actually, we don't get this weapon because it speeds up combat, we get it because it speeds up movement. Which you might think is a bit weird. But, as you will see, you can do zoomies. That is actually what we call attack.
Yes. Zoomies. So the way zoomies work is it preserves the forward momentum, right, from when you execute your dagger attack. Yeah.
And one cool thing about the daggers is that both the heavy attack with them and the roll slash gives quite a lot of speed.
Yeah, so you get to zoom. And now we're using the hookshot ability that we're not supposed to get to actually enter the third avarice. So this is normally the last ability upgrade and the last avarice that we usually would enter in a no major glitches run.
Yeah. And actually, I would hold off on your favourites, cat jam or rat jam or whatever emotes for now, because we're actually going to be dying immediately in this one. So, dying in an avarice puts you back to where you would have accessed the avarice from in the main world. And in the case of this one, that lets us skip about half of the route to one of the bosses. Not quite half, but about a third of the route to one of the bosses, and just walk straight to this door. We will be coming back here later, but for now, this gives us access so that we can unlock the door that teleports us here. And we're just going to pick a couple of souls on the way.
I have some exciting news. We have received an anonymous $100 donation that just says Bergie, and with that, that means we have met the incentive for the Fight Grey Crow with Umbrella fight. So fantastic work, everyone. Thank you so much for all those donations. I'm really excited to get to see you showcase that towards the end of the run.
Yeah, Bergie bless. Thank you for the donations.
Yeah, that's incredibly generous. Yeah, so we're just going to make our way back to the Avarice now, and then do it for real.
Yeah, we'll actually get to see a combat arena now. Since so this game is actually normally quite full of combat arenas. In the beginning area, there's a couple. each of the crow souls that we mentioned earlier are, I guess, you have to do a battle arena in order to get a crow soul. But we've just been skipping all of those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are a couple of arenas that we do have to do, but it's not nearly as many as you're supposed to.
But Avarice has some of the best music in this game, so it is very nice that we get to do this. So Avarices are battle arenas. They're usually comprised of enemies that you have seen earlier in the run. Since we've skipped a lot of this game, and this is the third and last Avarice, there are a lot of enemies here that we would have seen in each of the areas that we visited. Like these guys here we call boomers, because they throw boomerangs at you. These are mages. And each Avarice consists of 4 waves, and as each wave is completed, the torches around the arena will light up, so we're currently on wave 3 of 4. And all of the enemies that spawn in the Avarices, as well as in each of the battle arenas, are predetermined. So a lot of these are just executing choreography, anticipating what the next wave is, getting in position to do damage in the right way. And there it is.
Yeah, that was a really good fight.
Yeah. Well done.
Yeah. So, I'm actually going to do a death walk back to the door that we spawned at, because it's faster than walking back.
Yep. Oh no.
Very dramatic death screen here.
2 jokes about us dying. Yeah, I love the death scene. Or
Yeah.
death screen. Now we're getting upgrades.
So that dexterity upgrade is actually required for this next skip. And I'm going to fall off it because of some dark magic in this game, where sometimes your rolls go a bit further than other times. No one really understands what happens with that, but we need to go further.
You need to void out, which is to fall into the void and hazard respawn in order to get quote-unquote good rolls, which go a little farther. No one knows why. Nice.
Yeah, we know some of the things that cause good and bad rolls to happen, but no one's figured out what the actual reason is yet. Oops. Oops.
Oh no. But yeah,
These rolls are actually really awkward to time. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, there's a slight cooldown too after rolling and doing certain things. So sometimes.
So I'm actually going to. This death isn't necessary to take, but I'm going to take it because I'm only on 2 health here otherwise, and I'm not confident that I can fight an entire Avarice on 2 health. So I'm going to take intentional death just to be safe.
Gotcha. Yeah, this game is quite generous with its save points, and every door that we interact with is essentially a save and respawn point. These Avarices, as we saw earlier, when you die, you're placed at the door again, and so it's very easy to just come back and retry it.
Yeah, and relevant to this case, we can press retry instead of going back to the door. Because, of course, we haven't got the souls, so we can't go back through the door normally here.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Why does it let you retry here, but not out of 3?
Honestly, I don't really know why you're allowed to go go back to the door, but not through it. I assume it's just like hard-coded. If you lead out of this Avarice, go here.
Yeah.
You can see I'm using hook shots to instantly kill these exploding pots here.
Using hookshot in fights, it's so satisfying. The hookshot upgrade, for those who are wondering, that we had gotten, adds a slash to the end of the hook shot. So the baseline hook shot allows you to hook to enemies and other terrain items. The upgrade allows you to chain a slash at the end of it, which is equivalent to the damage of a heavy attack. And a heavy attack is 2 times the damage of a normal sword slash.
Anyway. I actually would have survived if I'd done it on 2 health, but there's no way of knowing that before you do it.
Yeah.
And I'd much rather be safe. So now we've got our flame spell, which does exactly what it says. It shoots a flame. Which is unfortunately required to progress through the area which we're going to be doing next, which is Castle Lockstone. So
yes.
We're now done with the portion of the run where we just get abilities, and we're going to be getting the 3 giant souls that this was talking about earlier. Is another death walk just to get back to the door.
Another dramatic death scene. One thing that we've been doing as well, whenever we respawn from a door, you'll notice either a charge up of a attack before interacting with the door, or turning around and before interacting with the door. Those we call fast doors. When you interact with a door, the crow goes through a white plane. Once the crow hits that white plane is when this scene transitions. And so by walking ourselves into that plane first before hitting interact, we can skip essentially an animation of the crow opening the door and walking in slightly faster. And here we are on Lockstone doing some puzzles, and this is why we need the fire ability. We'll be lighting 4 of these braziers in order to summon a elevator at the center of this room, which this helpful cutscene shows us right now.
Yeah. So I think now is actually a pretty good time to explain a little bit more about arcs, because once we're done with this area, we are going to be heading into the watchtowers, which make quite a lot of use of them.
Oh yeah.
So what? Okay. So I'll start with the easy one. So an air roll is when you perform some action that takes you off the ledge. But before you fall off the ledge, you input a roll, and you get a roll that happens in midair. Oops. Rolled the wrong way, and I'm now on the ground. So an arc or an air roll cancel is when you do that, but you input something else during the air roll, which cancels the air roll, but then you get another air roll afterwards anyway, which happens for some reason or another. Never mind. I went for one round that wall, but I missed the arc. So. You're going to see one here. So I'm going to heavy roll before I fall off, then do another attack in midair that cancels my roll, but then I get another one anyway. And that's going to be
These lasers.
Yeah, so you can see again, spells just kind of ignore walls when they feel like it.
Yeah, the walls in the middle here, for some reason, they just don't exist. You can hookshot through them. You can fire arrows through them.
Slightly annoyingly, I need to grab a couple of casts there. Normally you can shoot it from the very entrance of that room, but I'd run out of shots with my spells, so I need to go and hit the icicles to get some more. You can actually see one of the crow souls there. We're ignoring all of them, but those are normally things you have to get to progress.
These poor crows, their souls are just stuck here forever now.
Yeah.
But it's okay. If you want to learn more about the lore of this game, if you want to save crow souls, you should play Death's Door.
Yeah, you can pick whether to run no major glitches or glitch depending on how much you want to save the crows.
Cool. And so we've summoned the elevator. Normally, if we didn't save and quit, this would actually be an whole animation of the elevator rising up from the floor. But for some reason, since we have saved and quit, it just kind of lets us stare at the elevator for, I think it's 13 seconds.
Yeah, it's something ridiculous like that.
Yeah. And here we're in the... Oh, go for it.
Yes, yeah, so that grunt there sometimes likes to try and get various world records for high jump. They just try and chase you all the way up the ladder. I'm not going to see one here.
Arm day is not
But
blessed.
yeah, if he tries to attack you when you're right at the top of the ladder, he jumps all the way to the top of it, which looks very funny. It's like sad we didn't see one there.
Maybe one of these? No.
No. Those ones don't tend to chase you if you zoom me, because you just go too fast.
Fair.
Close. Oops. Not intended. So there is actually a way to skip this cutscene here, but one thing that I haven't mentioned yet about arcs is that if you fail one, if you get an arc, but you fail to cross the gap and you fall into the void, you soft lock. And the last place I saved was at the start of Lock Zone. You do keep the fact that the elevator's down, but you still lose like a minute and a half doing that. And it's a very hard skip to do it, and it only saves about 10 seconds, so I'm just not touching it. But that is an option if you're feeling particularly brave. And I am going to save and quit at this door to get my lost health point back.
Because Watchtowers it's quite hectic. There's a lot of enemies. There's some hard arenas.
Specifically in the glitch run, there's actually only one hard arena because we skip all of this. But there's a possibly the hardest skip in the run coming up in a second. There's a lot of contenders for hardest skip in the run, to be honest. This is Watchtower's middle route. We're going to... Close. I'm trying to get onto that roof there with a curved arc.
Yeah, there's a lot of arcs going on here to get over these gates. And the this region is actually architected very interestingly. In a non-glitched run, you would have to run around this whole entire area, fight enemies and arenas along the way. But each of these gates is a shortcut that you can open. And so once the shortcuts are open, it's actually a complete straight shot from the start of the area to the end.
Close. This is probably my biggest checkpoint in the run at the moment, so we might hear from him in a minute.
No worries. The music here is...
If you've got any donations or anything to read,
yeah.
good time while I'm playing this track.
Yeah. We do have an anonymous $6 donation that's just come in that just says strike, and that has, I believe, edged strike ahead of spare in the spare or strike the Rainmaker incentive for later on in the Toontown corporate clash run. So yeah, now strike is in the lead. So if you want to see that spare ending, do get those donos in. Oh, let's go. GG's skip. Thank you for that donation.
And now we pray to the gods that I don't die to Ice Arena, because if I fail this arena, I have to do that skip again.
Oh, Ice Arena. This is one of the hardest arenas in the game, no matter what.
Yeah, it is really not helped by the fact that we keep sliding everywhere, because it is on ice.
Yeah, you slip on ice, the enemies slip on ice, makes their behavior a little bit more unpredictable. We're also at a lower strength in this run too, compared to No Major Glitches run, so all the enemies take quite a few more hits, which also ups the difficulty here.
Yes, I'm actually only going to kill one of those archers, because what I would ideally like to do is kill that one while I'm close to the exit of this arena, and that will let me climb up the ladder at the end during a cutscene where this guy dies. If you could follow me up the stairs real quick. If I stand in the right place,
Ooh, yeah, early
I can climb up the ladder while I should not be able to move, which is very handy. Oops. And again, I'm going to respawn my health because we're about to go into our first actually hard boss fight of this run. Guardian of the Door was a bit tricky, but this one is much easier to die to.
Yeah, this is our first of the 3 giant souls. This is Betty. She's a Yeti. And if you've played Titan Souls, this should also feel familiar to you.
Something I haven't talked about yet is after Azumi, you'll be doing these slashes when you roll, and that means that we can get some extra free damage in on Betty, because the rolls that we use to dodge the attacks also deal damage to her. Her?
Yeah.
Him? I actually don't know.
Her, I think it's her. And yeah, it's also probably worth mentioning that we do get iframes. Aw, the snowballs.
The snowball, yeah.
Where the
So
snowballs
unlike
fall
Guardian
off
of the Door, yeah, there's snowballs that fall from the sky that could your RNG. I actually just didn't see that one, because Betty was
Betty was standing on it, yeah.
being very angry on top of it.
Yeah. It's also worth mentioning that you get iframes at the start of the roll. So in this fight, we are timing a lot of our rolls and our iframes to when Betty makes her attacks, so that we can stay underneath her.
It can be really annoying to dodge that first roll, because if you're very close, then you have very little time to get out of the way. Don't like that.
Hoping for good snowball RNG here.
Snowball?
Yay!
I think there might have been a snowball about to land on my head there. I'm not sure.
I think that was a good dodge. Even after killing Betty, if a snowball falls on your head and you die, you have to redo the fight.
And if you die after killing Betty, it does not count as a kill. You have to do the fight again.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very annoying. So that was Steadhone giving Betty a funeral. We haven't met Steadhone yet because we skipped past him. But that's our local gravedigger.
Yeah, we don't see much of Steadhone in these runs. Same in the any percent restricted run as well. There's more Steadhone lore in True Ending / some of the longer categories.
It's fun thing. If you zoom into the cutscene, you run around in circles. Does that hurt?
I love it. Characters are trying to talk to you, and you're just nope.
I love this guy.
That's our boss, by the way, the Lord of Doors.
Yeah, we've been Employee of the Month. We haven't actually, but we get a nice round of applause here.
Yay. He's applauding us.
That is Death's Door there. We will see that later.
Oh yeah.
We're supposed to have a cutscene about that at the start, but you know, we skipped that one.
Yeah, we'll skip that one by carrying a key over and not talking to Grey Crow, not seeing the door.
This is one thing.
Am I good to make a brief announcement?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so with the Fight Grey Crow with Umbrella incentive having been met, we've now opened up our next incentive, which is also for the Toontown Corporate Clash Run, and that is the Overclocked Pace Setter. And the description for that reads: the Fitness Round Pacer Test is a multi-stage aerobic capacity test that progressively gets more difficult as it continues. This incentive greatly increases the difficulty of the Pace Setter fight, and that is set at $250. So yeah, it would be a really cool fight to see. Yeah, I hope that gets met. Thank you.
Yeah, so you just saw me fail an arc by falling into the void, and I softlocked, and there is no way out of that. So there's actually an exception in the rules where you're allowed to alter for the game if you do that, because otherwise you could brick runs to it, and it would be really annoying. Got past that now, so...
Oh, you might need a restream, by the way, in Discord.
Yeah, so this is the Overrun Ruins. We're not going to be here for very long. So normally, you would have to do a lot of walking around this sort of maze-like ruin section, which is all very nice and good, but we're going to progress. We're going to get Camlock here, which I will talk more about in a second, but...
Would it be possible for you to share the game in the Discord stream again, if possible?
Sorry, yeah, 1 second. Right, there we go.
Cool.
So yeah, Camlock is a trick that's... Also, this is the Mushroom Dungeon, that's where you're supposed to get the vulnerability. We were there for about 2 seconds. And now this is This is Flooded Fortress.
Ah, yes.
So I think, yeah. So
Because...
I'm going to sort of do a quick explanation of how Camlock works now, because you're about to use it again. So if you press the game's aim button, and then at the same frame you stop holding it, switch which spell you're using. The game gets very confused and locks the camera to wherever it was when you were aiming. And that means that walls that are off screen can get despawned, so we can just walk through them. Oops.
Yeah, so a lot of shenanigans going off screen right now.
Ah. That's mine. So if that happens, I just need to go over here, get Camlock again. And go for the trick again. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I know why it's going right, because I'm doing the setup wrong. Technical difficulties.
We have just had an anonymous $50 donation come in. Thank you so much for that. And we are now just $30 away from reaching our last lap milestone to help get this day started. So thank you very much for that.
Okay, I'm just going to intentionally die here because I would not like to be on 1 HP right now. This run, this skip is not normally that bad, but it's very easy to get this mind block on it, and because it's off camera, it's a bit scary.
Yeah, you have to memorize this series of movements completely, so you can't actually see. Also, there is a heal mechanic in this game. It comprises of picking up seeds throughout the world, and the pot that we used to, say, execute pothead skip earlier, those pots also exist around the world.
Oh, right.
If you plant a seed in a pot, it gives you a full heal. Since we don't pick up any seeds here, the only way to really heal back up is to save and quit and go back to a breakpoint or respawn point.
Okay, that's good. Okay, it's not perfect, but if I die here, then I can push that lever and get up here, so it's totally fine. Ideally, I can actually make it all the way to that ground with the camlock, but it's not that necessary.
And this
And
is
here's the other arena that we want to really not die to.
Yeah.
Because again,
This
if I
is the
die to
final
this
arena in the area. And so once again, we've executed a bunch of skips to get to just the final arena. But this one is spooky, and as you all saw, crows, at least in the restricted category, we have a meme that says crows cannot swim because they are not water birds. And so this arena is spooky because, one, there's a lot of enemies, they jump around a lot, they teleport a lot, but also, if we fall into water, we take damage.
Yeah. That was a nice clean arena though. So.
That was, yeah.
Yeah, all good.
And we are now headed into the second, the second boss fight of 3, and I will proceed to introduce you to him because he's got quite a long name. This is the King of the Swamp, Guardian of the Flooded Fortress, Lord of his domain, Ruler of all he surveys, Champion of the people, Keeper of the Five Oaths, first of his name, second of his other name, he who is without middle, initial, or mercy, destroyer of all those who would question his rightful ruler or look at him askance, eater of the vanquished, devourer of the indolent, guzzler of the non-committal, bestower of the wrathful opprobrium, and the fountain of most wondrous beneficence. All glory to him and his mace, holy basher of toads, not frogs. But really, what are toads anyway? Like worse frogs, right? Uglier too. Smartest creature in all the land, really clever like that Einstein guy, but more handsome and okay, hit the word count.
Yes, this is quite a funny cheese, I think, actually. We're going to go underwater.
Yep. Yeah, so what I said earlier about crows not being water birds, yeah, that doesn't apply here. Not in an unrestricted run. And so now we just kind of chill out underwater, do damage. Yep. We get to skip all of the danger and platformings disappearing under us. All of that. Very chill.
Yeah, we're not quite completely safe down here. Those projectiles that he was spitting last phrase can hit us. And it's actually possible to get lifted up by his foot when he jumps and get into the water death plane.
Oh.
But that's quite unlucky when it happens, and if you just stay away from him when he jumps, it's all fine. So yeah, that is the Frog King.
GG.
It's our second giant soul, and now we'll be heading to kill the Urn Witch, or Grandma, as she's also known.
Headed over to Grandma. We in the speedrun we do the bosses in reverse order too, compared to what a normal, I guess a casual playthrough would do. So Grandma normally would be the first fight. Since if you remember way back when we entered the estate of the Urn Witch, it's where we executed Bothead Skip, all that stuff. Yeah, so this would have been the first dungeon, and we would have gone here immediately after getting Fireball.
This is so mean. Nope.
Nope.
What I would like to have happen there is to roll in midair and use that to be able to get onto the platform there, but I did not. While we're here, I will grab the umbrella. I'm voiding out before this because the good and bad rolls we were talking about actually also affect your heavy attack, and I need my heavy attack to be good for the setup for this game. There we go.
There we go.
First try. Yeah, we can just zoom over the first run.
You can just zoom me everywhere. And then, as with the other areas, we're also about to skip the majority of Furnace.
Yeah, one thing with glitch runs in this game is about 80% of your problems can be solved with either a Zoomy or an arc. So just try one of those and you'll probably get over a gap. Although notably there's very little way to get any kind of vertical height in this game. Inspirational.
We got to Zoomy in NMG runs. That'd be so nice.
So one nice tip here, we can light the furnace before we talk to Grandma, and the door will open during the cutscene.
Yeah, also, Grandma's kidnapped our friend Pothead. That makes
Yeah, I've slightly lost track of what the lore is about those two, but some kind of weird experiments. I think it's the pot's supposed to be make him immortal or something. I quite know how it's supposed to work.
Grandma believes that turning people's heads into pots makes them immortal. Or turning people's heads into urns makes them immortal. But she made a mistake and turned his head into a pot.
So this is Furnace Skip. It's the other hardest skip in the run. One of about 6 of the hardest skips in the run.
Yeah, a lot of precise rolling onto things.
I'm actually not 100% certain I have good rolls right now, so I might go and get those if I fail this one again. Okay. I think I might have bad rolls, so I'm going to do a nice little trick here, which is, while you're loading in here, you can actually just walk through that door and void out there.
Nice.
Which works for some reason or another.
Hitboxes, game things.
Yeah. Close. I'm trying to basically get onto the ceiling with that. And if I'm successful, I will skip basically the entirety of this area. Not great.
Yeah.
These little blobs get in the way a lot.
Yeah, and as long as each of these skips takes, each of these areas are quite long too, and so, like, here, the gimmick, I guess, in Furnace is the timing of the pistons, and actually, if you notice, one really cool thing is that the pistons move in time to the music, but there is quite a lot of having to deal with cycles. Nice. That we can just skip. This takes us essentially to the third to last room in this entire area. Oh, we can Zoomy to help with these cycles too.
keep blocking that furnace with an arc there.
And arc.
Yeah, so with furnace done, we're done with all the really hard movement sections this run. We of course still have Grey Crow with an umbrella to fight. And we're coming up on Grandma as well here.
Of course. Grandma, our last giant soul.
Oops. Pay very close attention to the dialogue here.
Yeah, best line of the game right here.
I'm going to be skipping it very quickly, so yeah.
It's fine, if you missed it, play the game.
Yeah. This is supposed to be the first boss that you fight. Of course, it is not for us.
Yep. And, fun fact, she actually has the most health of all of the giant souls, too. So by, fighting her last, we also, in speedruns, make sure that we are, the most upgraded in terms of our strength and abilities to help make this fight go faster as well.
That's a bit dodgy.
One thing that you'll see happening a lot is deflecting those missiles into Grandma. And also, I assume we'll see a lot of that in the Grey Crow fight as well. The reason why we deflect is deflects do double damage compared to the attack that you use to execute the deflect. Which means if I use a normal sword slash, it'll do double damage, deflecting back into the enemy. If I use a heavy attack, which already is double damage, it does quadruple on the deflect.
Yeah, so if you can deflect projectiles into enemies, it's a really good way of dealing damage. Some enemies it's really difficult to do that, but wherever you can, it's great.
If now would be a good time to say we have reached our $5,250 milestone for the last lap getting started here on day 3. Thank you so much.
Ooh.
We have had a $30 donation come in from Salix that says, GL Sunday Fun Day. Thank you so much for that donation, and good job everyone for reaching that milestone. Really appreciate it.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we are now coming up on the Grey Crow, who notably has about a 2-minute cutscene before the fight starts. And I will be switching to the umbrella here.
Yay. Oh, and we get to be Restless Crow during this, too.
Yeah. This is not a great idea, actually, to do in practice. Oh, wait, actually, I don't remember if it does for this fight, actually. Normally, if you zoom into a cutscene before a fight, you'll be zooming after the cutscene as well, which is sometimes not great, especially for the Avarice, because you have quite a lot of time where you don't have control of the character. I don't remember if it's an issue here. It might be. We'll see. By the way, it looks too funny not to do.
The sliding around with the umbrella
Yeah.
through the floor. It's so good.
This cutscene with the umbrella is amazing.
Yeah, so this whole 2-minute cutscene it's a lot of lore. It is the main lore dump in this.
Yeah, and this is Death.
Yep.
Who's
Look at that.
That has now been introduced as such. I don't quite know what the lore is about this. I think Death got shot away by the Lord of Doors because the Lord of Doors didn't want to die. I think that's the extent of my knowledge.
That's the TLDR, yeah.
This is like the voice, I think. Or something like that.
Yeah. Lord of Doors bad. Traps Death away.
Yeah, Death is good.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that's just how the lore goes.
And we also in this cutscene learn about that the giant souls that we've been killing are essentially like beings that have lived too long. They become corrupted as they live too long, and yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, and the Grey Crow has also become corrupted, and is now about to try and kill us.
Yeah.
And so starts the battle.
Feel free to throw your cat jams in the chat. This
This is a jam.
Awesome.
So I'm going to be doing quite a lot of hookshotting towards Grey Crow to try and get attacks in, because that hookshot attack does the same damage as the heavy. Oh, that's not good.
Yeah,
So these feather things that's following me, I can deflect into Grey Crow like that, and they do pretty good damage, as this was talking about earlier with deflecting projectiles.
Yep, and
I'm not sure on this attempt, I'm already onto HP, but
oh gosh,
see how
you
it
got
goes.
this, I believe. Yeah, those murderlings, we call them. Well, we call them. The game does have a different name for them, which I won't say. But the murderlings spawn for each hit that you land on Grey Crow.
Yeah. That is the trouble with trying to hookshot towards Grey Crow, is that you cannot move when you're hookshotting.
You do get
However,
some
one
items
advantage
while you're
is we now get to
hookshotting.
deal damage during the opening cutscene, except I'm an idiot.
It's a good deflect though.
Okay, I'm going to take another intensive death here. Just get a fresh start. I've practiced this fight quite a lot, but it's just really difficult. It's already probably the hardest fight, even if you don't do it with the umbrella.
It definitely is, yeah. Even with non-umbrella in runs, this is frequently a spooky fight.
Yeah. One thing about deflecting the projectiles is they don't actually deflect depending on where you swing your weapon. They deflect based on their angle toward your body, which actually means that it's really difficult to deflect in the correct direction sometimes. Although when you're this close, it's not as difficult.
One big question while, watching this fight is the whole plot of this game starts off with Grey Crow stealing one of our souls and asking us to grab all these giant souls for him. I'm pretty sure Grey Crow is perfectly capable of doing this himself, based on how he fights.
Yeah, actually, one interesting thing to note is that if I look at my inventory right now, which I will do in a second, because it's quite interesting, I actually don't have Grandma's Giant Soul. I don't know why the game doesn't think I have it.
You actually don't have what?
You can see the soul is missing.
Oh, interesting.
I think it's something to do with saving quitting after the fight, but I actually have no idea why that makes the game not think you did the fights.
That's so interesting, yeah.
There we go.
Hey, nice.
That was a much cleaner fight.
GG's.
Good fight. GG.
Yeah,
Now
thanks
Death
again,
Force
everyone.
lost
Thanks everyone who donated so that we could see that with the umbrella as it's intended to be done, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, with an umbrella, it's stylish and a more exciting fight. So, thank you,
I'm going to switch
everyone.
back to sword now, because as much fun as that was, I'm not going to be doing the upcoming gauntlet with the umbrella.
Yeah, we are coming up on the end of the run now. After defeating Grey Crow, Death tells us one more thing, which is to go overthrow our boss and essentially, upset this whole system that they've set up for reaping souls.
Yeah, and what better way to do that than by murdering our boss?
Yeah. And following him through, or them? I don't know Lord of Doors' pronouns.
I'm going to be honest, I have no idea.
Yeah. Following them through each of the arenas and areas that we've been to before, or should have been through before. Normally, I guess in a No Major Glitches run, we would say, oh look, this is this area that we used to be in.
I'm not starting this with 3 HP, sorry.
Fair.
Because the thing is, if you die at the end of this gauntlet, you get sent back to not the very start, but the second part of it, and that means that the death is, I don't know, 4 minutes long, 3 minutes long.
Yeah, it's very significant.
So I'm playing a bit safe here.
And each of these areas, Lord of Doors will need 15 damage from the sword in order to progress to the next phase. So here we go.
Yeah, so how this bit works is we get those combats interspersed with these sort of movement sections, where you have to dodge all these doors with, like, bolts, I guess, behind them. You can walk up onto this ledge, and that will let us go through this door instantly.
Hey, fast sword 0. Yeah, in each of these fights, if we position the crow where the door would spawn,
Yeah,
when the
that one I
Lord
took
summons
damage,
it-
so I couldn't get there in time. But
Yeah. You'll get into the door. Alright. 1 arena down, 2 more to go.
it's a bit sketchy.
Nice.
I'm trying to be
Nice
as
play.
careful as I can
Yeah.
with this.
Nice playing it safe. Because as mentioned before, if we die here, we go back to basically the start of the gauntlet. No! It's fine, we're just demonstrating what we were saying.
Yeah, it's fine. So this is the movement section after the first combats. Let me get onto the right screen. You can actually swing at Lord Doors and health bash as if he's taking damage. It doesn't help you at all. But you can swing at him. So maybe try not to take 2 damage to this phase again.
Ooh, I love that zooming between the door and the wall.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
so
really
spooky.
cool when you get the full zooming through there. Really? What a scam. Well, I am missing the hitbox for the instant doors. I am at least getting an opportunity to switch to my weapon else.
Yeah. Yeah, the hitboxes tend to be further left than I always expect them to be. Okay. Last arena, arguably the hardest one.
I'm being a bit safer than I would normally be here, because dying to this phase is, I think it's the single longest death, except for the movement after this. It's the single longest step you can take in the run. Is that it? Yeah, that's it.
We
Can
got
get
it.
to the door on time. Okay, and now I'm not scared.
Yay,
There we go.
and we're safe.
And we are safe. Oops.
First try, not worried at all.
Yeah. So after hyping up the Grey Crow as probably the hardest fight so much, you might be thinking, what about this guy? He seems harder. Well, but we actually have an insta-kill for the final boss of this game. Which you might argue is a bit of an anticlimax, you might not. But it is quite funny, as long as I pull it off.
Yeah, and time will be when Lord of Doors dies.
This is an absolutely incredible song. I'm kind of sad we don't get to hear it for as long as we would normally. So how this insta-kill is going to work is we're going to get out of bounds, and then after a specific attack, the Lord of Doors jumps at us, and that means that we can get him to jump into the void. Ah, I missed it. That is an unfortunate time loss, because it is actually faster to go through the entire first phase of the fight again than it is to wait out another one. So we need that laser attack to happen, otherwise there's no insta-kill.
Come on, Lord of Doors.
Ah! I hate getting hit by that one.
One thing to point out, though, that's pretty cool, even though we won't get to see very much of this boss fight, is the Lord of Doors uses a whole bunch of attacks that are throwbacks to previous bosses and enemies that we fought. So that's a Betty roll. The jump where, I guess, pink pillars come out are somehow supposed to be reminiscent of Frog King, and then he throws pots at us like Grandma does.
There we go, okay. So we're out of bounds, and now all that's left, roll onto the voice, and there we go.
And
We wait.
goodbye!
That is time.
And that's time.
Oh, it's so over.
We need to get through this cutscene, doesn't really matter.
GG.
Yeah.
Yeah, GG's.
These credits are quite long. We might not want to be watching all of them. But...
Fair enough. Well, in the meantime, thank you both very much for coming through and showcasing that really cool run. And again, thanks to everyone who donated that let us see that umbrella fight as well. It was really cool.
Yeah,
is there
thanks for
anything
having us
either
on.
of you want to mention or shout out?
Don't think I got something.
I mean, I'll shout out the CelesteCommunity. If you're
Oh, yeah,
interested in
absolutely.
running this game, yeah. Either glitched or NMG, the community is super friendly, super welcoming. We're actively finding new strategies and new rerouting all the time. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's a really small and really friendly community. Like when I started, it was really easy to get into it just because of how helpful everyone was with learning the run, show me around like actually how to do things quickly instead of just all the making all the beginner mistakes. It's a great community.
Nice. Well, yeah. Well, thank you both so much for coming through and showcasing that. GG's. That was great.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, if we're ready, I think we're probably going to jump back over to an intermission now and start getting things set up for the next run.